Hello. So, for the hunt tonight, we went through and killed Beototus and then Bunbaro. So instead of splitting the dialogue and commentary up between the two of them and actually talking about Bunbaro when I get to him, I'm just going to go ahead and say everything up front. And then if you want to watch both fights, you can watch the video all the way through. If you don't want to watch, cool. You can just drop out after I finish talking. Beototus, I really do not enjoy Piscine Wyverns. So I'm not sure what to say there. Minor spoilers for Wilds. From what I've seen, I'm really happy that it doesn't seem to be that there's any Piscine Wyverns in it. Knowing my luck, I will probably have missed someone mentioning that there actually is one. But, whatever. Hopefully it's not, and hopefully the spoilers are right. So, either way, if I had to rank him, though, Beototus is probably one of the better Piscine Wyverns. Don't care about Plesioth. He's just old school and simple and had janky hitboxes, but he's not really all that terrible. Lavasioth is just Plesioth but on fire. And Gyrototus is a bit of a better take on Plesioth, so they have improved on them each time. It's just, there's not a lot of improvement to make on these guys. I think part of the problem with Beototus is how early on in Iceborne he is, and the fact that he is the thing that kind of tells you right off the bat that you have definitely dropped in power. Now, with the Defender gear, he goes down relatively quickly, but that's still about 10 minutes worth of fighting. Remember the first time I came into it, even with some decently in-game gear, which should tell you how strong the Defender gear is, it felt like it took forever to kill him compared to the stuff that I had been doing in the base game. And he's just not terribly interesting. He was also a little bit disappointing because you can see the little shark fin thing on his face and see his general shape and whatnot, and I thought, well, maybe they'll take some of the cooler stuff from Zamtrios and put it onto Beototus, because I'd heard that there were Zamites around, but I can't remember honestly if that panned out to be true or not. And then there's no Zamtrios, so I thought, well, maybe this guy will be the replacement for it. No, he's just Gyrototus with slightly tweaked moveset. Yeah, he's starting to show that the Defender gear is getting a little bit laggy. I mean, it's still fantastic and is way better than 90% of the other stuff that you could have coming into this point. But at least it is actually starting to be a little bit of a challenge. But, I don't know. I just don't particularly like Beototus. He's still the best of the Piscine Wyverns, but that's about like saying he's the best of the different types of sunburn you can get. Alright, so commentary on Bunbaro, which is a little weird to make at this point, but like I said, I don't want to split them up. That way if someone just wants to listen to the commentary and then stop, they can. I actually really enjoy him, and the only disappointment I had with him was that he was so early in the game, because his armor set looks pretty cool. He's actually a kind of cool fight. Reminds me a lot of Dorambaros. And honestly, the first time I was coming into Iceborne, I was hoping they would do with him kind of like what they did with Dorambaros, which was add a harder variant that would be a good in-game monster and actually produce some in-game viable equipment. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he just kind of was wasted as the second entry-level monster. And his moveset's simple, but he looks really cool. Like, his aesthetics are actually kind of pleasing. I like the way that he actually picks the stuff up with his horns. He's like a reverse Dorambaros. Instead of spinning around and hitting you with a giant sledgehammer tail, he's using his horns to pick stuff up to hit you with. And he actually manages to get a card on me because I'm not paying enough attention. But he's a fun fight. I like the way the monster looks. I just feel like he was wasted early on, because that's one of the big problems with Monster Hunter. Is a lot of the times the really early monsters, they may be cool, but they end up being basically pointless towards the end game. Some of them they end up giving good subspecies to, so they stay somewhat relevant, like think Rathalos and Raytheon. The two of them together are just really simple in the first iterations that you encounter them, but they consistently give them power-ups and they give them subspecies, so the subspecies get consecutively harder until you get to Silver and Gold, which are some of the biggest pain in the asses of the entire series. But because of that, they have in-game viable weaponry, at least in some of the games. So, I'd wish they had given Bunbaro a treatment like that, given him something to deal with. I'm also one of those people that actually really liked Gammoth, and is kind of disappointed that it seems like he's just being left by the wayside. So, I don't know. Something about brute wyverns may have something to do with me starting in Try and really liking Brachydios, but I have a really big affinity for brute wyverns, and he sort of scratches that itch in his just general form, but he doesn't look like the vast majority of them. But yeah, whatever. You get my point. He's a fun monster that looks cool, that's not a Piscine wyvern, and generally as long as they're not a Piscine wyvern, they're okay. Actually, now that I think about it, the only non-Piscine wyvern that I really have any strong hatred for is Rajang. Not even regular Rajang, Furious Rajang. And that's just because he's a nightmare to fight. But, yeah, whatever. Hopefully the fish monsters, either they improve them or just stop putting them in. Someone must really love them because they keep trying to bring them back and keep trying to find some iteration for them where I guess they hope they become popular. I don't know. Now, the little turf war that's going on right here, that does look cool, but still, Geototus gets bodied. That's actually one of the reasons why I thought maybe Benmaro would end up having some kind of cool stuff going on. But he doesn't. Anyway, that's all the thoughts that I really have on this episode. Just share a few thoughts on some of the stuff coming out from Wilds. A lot of the major channels, you know, the ones that get invited to the shows and actually have some of the early access copies, are starting to put out the reviews right now, which gives me really high hopes for Wilds in general. Because if Capcom didn't have strong faith that the game's going to do well, they wouldn't let people be putting up the reviews almost a week early. It's just one of the sort of devious tricks that the big AAA companies will do, is if they know a game is not going to perform up to expectations, they just put the review embargoes right up to the day where they're released. That way people don't have time to cancel pre-orders and whatnot. But they haven't done that. And the only negatives that I see kind of consistently coming out is that they're easier than, or it's easier than people really want. The thing is, that just happens. As you get better at the games, they become easier. Even to me, I'm not a great hunter by any stretch of the imagination, but the games have consistently gotten easier with each successive one that I've played. It's just a matter of learning how it works. It's like Dark Souls. As you play through those games and you get better and better, stuff that's a massive challenge to brand new players is really not that terrible. It doesn't take quite as long to get through. It's like Dark Souls 3 was not a bad game, but by the time people worked their way around to it, it was comparatively incredibly easy. Granted, they released a bit of DLC that kind of ramped that up, but that's similar to what happens with Monster Hunter. The baseline game that goes up to high rank is never as difficult as the one that goes to master rank will be. Some of the additional monster fights that come in post-launch will probably be really challenging, but they're still not going to be quite on the order of what they now call the master rank ones, which used to be G rank. Once we get a master rank expansion for it, the difficulty will really start to ramp up, but I just don't think there's going to be anything to look forward to as far as difficulty until we get a couple release cycles in. That's not a bad thing. That's just the way the game works. It gives you time to get in, build up an armor collection, build up a weapon collection, and play with the end game for a little while before really diving into challenges. And people tend to forget that. They also forget that even if they don't consider themselves an excellent player, that over time they're going to get better. So, what can you do? You just strap in, enjoy the ride, take your time. Also, just a side note, I'm putting up a pretty high frequency rate for videos right now, but that won't be the case for the rest of existence. I'm just doing a little bit of a quick series of release of videos leading up to Wilds, and once Wild comes out, I'll probably go back to 1 to 2 videos a week. I just don't have the time normally to edit these things together, but I've been able to throw this together relatively quickly. Anyway, that's it for the commentary. Have a good night, everyone.